Thomas Frank is trying to make his way here. This is, interestingly, just a few minutes ago, I was talking about, the difference between Republicans and Democrats in terms of the public good and taxes and all that kind of thing. Congress controls the budget for Washington, D.C., which is bizarre, but it's the way it is. And Congress is controlled by Republicans, and the Republicans have been cutting back and cutting back and cutting back on maintenance money for the metro system here, for our train system, and to the point where now the new head of Metro, he's talking about maybe even shutting down the whole system for a week or two because there's so much maintenance that needs to be done. I mean, just like pretty much everything else in America, that the Republicans have said, no, it's more important that the Koch brothers get a tax break. More important that Mitt Romney only pay 14% income taxes. It's more important that Donald Trump pay no taxes whatsoever than it is that you have a functioning train system in the city of Washington, D.C. This morning on the radio, I was listening to the local just a local show, and they were talking as I was waking up, and the alarm clock thing, and they were talking about how the red line, which is I know the line that Thomas is using to get here to our studio, how they were having to single track the thing because part of one of the tracks on it was sparking and needed maintenance, and so be prepared because there's going to be delays on the red line. And I'm guessing he didn't hear that, or he probably would have left a little earlier. But what's the end game here? Well, we're already hearing Republicans talk about privatizing the D.C. metro system. The thing is worth billions. So, hey, let's hand it off to some private company. It's just, let's break it through negligence, 30 years of negligence. And really, most of it's been the last 10, 15 years. Let's break it through negligence and then yell and scream about how broken it is. They're doing the same thing with TSA, by the way. The TSA has lost 6,000 agents in the last couple of years that have not been replaced. Why? Because Congress won't appropriate the funds. And then the other thing that I learned this morning, actually, that I thought was totally weird, is that, when you go to a rally, whether it's a Bernie event or a Hillary event or a Trump event, you go through these metal detectors. And your stuff goes through an X-ray machine to get in. I mean, they're actually doing this. Well, they're taking TSA people out of airports to do that. That's crazy. Why do they have to do that? Well, they have to do that because Congress refuses to appropriate special funds for events like this. So, I mean, it's like, I shouldn't say Congress. I should say Republicans in Congress. And they don't want to pay for things. They don't want to pay for the metro because, hey, maybe we can turn it into an opportunity for somebody to make a buck. Somebody who will then kick back money to Republican politicians. This is a game that's been being played now for quite some time, and it's arguably one of the only reasons that Republicans still hold any power at all. Is because they get all the money. And why do they get all the money? Because, they bow down and kiss the feet and other anatomical parts of the fat cats, of the billionaires and the big corporations, or at least the conservative ones, at least the ones who are obsessed with more, who have that hoarding OCD mental illness, only they've applied it to money. People hoard newspapers, we feel sorry for them. People hoard money, we put them on People magazine's cover. It's the same mental illness. And the more they hoard, as they start going toward, like the Koch brothers, $80 billion, $100 billion, the less is left over for everybody else. It's not a total zero-sum game, obviously. But there is a very real and measurable, the more the rich get richer, the more the poor get poorer. And so, they're trying to privatize our metro here. They're trying to privatize, they tried doing it to the post office. This was the Postal Reform Act of 2006. Let's break the back of the post office by taking $5 billion a year out of their operating funds and put it into a fund to pay for the health care of people who retire 75 years from now. The only reason they did that was to try to break the back of the post office. You've got people who, first of all, from Republicans' point of view, it's a two-fer, a three-fer, or whatever. It's huge. It's wonderful. Because if they can break the post office, number one, they've broken the largest unionized employer in the United States. Number two, back in 2006, if you can put your brain in the Wayback Machine back a decade ago, you may recall, it didn't get a lot of coverage, but it was in all the newspapers. The largest vehicle fleet in the United States is owned by the U.S. Postal Service. And most of those vehicles are the mail delivery trucks, and most of them travel fewer than 100 or 200 miles a day, which is the typical range of an electric vehicle. So in 2006, the post office was talking about replacing tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of vehicles, gas-burning vehicles, with electric vehicles, which would have hugely jump-started the electric vehicle industry, the battery industry. I mean, it would have created demand for these things. You know, it would have been just, and they were talking even about, putting solar panels on post offices to recharge them over, to store battery power, and then they recharge them overnight and things like that. And the Republicans are looking at this, and of course their oil industry donors saying, we can't have this. So we destroy the electric vehicle transition that the post office was, because the post office was operating at a surplus in 2005, 2006. And they had the money to do this, and their service was great. And these guys were like, okay, number one, we get to destroy a union. Number two, we get to privatize an institution that Ben Franklin created that is in the Constitution. Not as a private company, by the way. The press is the only private industry that is mentioned in the Constitution. But the post office, Article 1, Section 8, it's right there. Congress shall have the authority to appropriate funds and spend them to build roads for the use of the post office. But hey, the guys at FedEx and UPS, they will contribute to your campaign if you can help privatize that damn thing. So it's I don't know how I turned Thomas Frank is late into a whole rant, but it seems to have worked. And by the way, voter suppression is nothing new. Here is FDR talking about voter suppression. Let's try to have fewer and fewer people vote. Hang on just a second.
For there are some political candidates who think that they may have a chance of election if only the total vote is small enough.
Right. Does that sound familiar? I mean, this is all over again. It's like the Pennsylvania congressman who was like, Mitt Romney, we want to get him elected. Let's see, voter ID law, check. It's this whole wave of voter suppression. It's crazy what's going on. So, anyway, did Thomas arrive? Hey, how cool is that? Okay, in just a few seconds here, we're going to take a break. How much time do we have, Shano? Oh, 10 seconds. I was going to play another FDR clip, but I guess not. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back in about 4 minutes with Thomas Frank. Stick around. It should be a lot of fun. Just a little bit of FDR on the way out. This is just.
We fought the World War, and it cost us $25 billion in 3 years to win it. We borrowed to fight that war. A Democratic administration provided sufficient taxes to pay off the entire war debt.
There you go. There you go. That's what you do.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.